Andy No has been attacked in Portland, so he came over to the UK, essentially fleeing it, and also trying to set up a somewhat of a life in the UK. I don't know if he's moving here or thinking about it, whatever. But he went back to Portland to go and have a look at the state of it, and also to do some on-the-ground reporting, because he is a journalist. This is his day job, you know. And he got attacked by them, Antifa, because, well, yeah. So you can see here him giving a statement. So statement on May 28th, 2021, Antifa assault. No journalist in America should ever face violence for doing his or her job. Yet on Friday, May 28th, Antifa tried to kill me again whilst I was reporting on the ongoing protests and riots in Portland, Oregon, for a new chapter of my book, Antifa, Inside Antifa's Radical Plan to Destroy Democracy. In case you're wondering, previous book, Antifa Unmasked, we did a book club on this. Andy came into the studio to do a book club with us. Piece of premium content. People should go check it out. Otherwise, you should buy the book and give it a read if you want to know anything about Antifa and their inner workings. One of the most interesting things, because this is essentially a journalistic piece that Andy wrote.
Oh, yeah.
In which he documents their beliefs, their actions, so on and so forth. And the interesting part about their belief section is that they honestly know that the people they're attacking are just liberals.
Yeah.
They know they're not fascists. They know they're not Nazis. They point it out in their own internal texts, which they have for required reading at like level 3 or whatever the heck it is, and they don't care. They're just open liars.
Sure, but I mean, you've got to remember that the communists hate liberal democracy as much as the fascists hate liberal democracy. So anyone who's supportive of liberal democracy, like Andy No, is treated much the same as any other enemy.
Sure, but it's the point of there being that when they say to a liberal, you're a fascist, you're a Nazi, it's not just they're morons and they're like, yeah, everything to the right of me is Nazism. They understand the differences and they just lie. They're just open liars. Anyway, go and give it a read if you haven't. It's a great book. Someone I was speaking to yesterday actually said he gave it to a police and crime commissioner in the Conservatives, and it flipped him and made him much more based and red-pilled on the issue of Antifa, so good work there. Anyway, so Andy says, I was chased, attacked, and beaten by a masked mob, baying for my blood. Had I not been able to shelter wounded and bleeding inside a hotel while they beat the doors and windows like animals, there is no doubt in my mind that I would not be here today. Antifa wants me dead because I document what they want to stay hidden. The attacks against me and threats on my life are retribution for my work as a journalist, recording the tactics and true ideology of the extremist clandestine movement that relies on deception and regards the truth as the greatest threat of all. Certainly do. I mean, correct analysis from Andy there.
Yeah, I mean, they're domestic terrorists, and they've just assaulted a journalist, and that's... Well, you don't need any more proof of it.
No. I mean, if you do want more proof of it, it's in black and white.
Yeah.
You can go give it a read. But I mean, there's plenty of video evidence as well.
Yeah.
Anyone still saying that Antifa just means anti-fascist and whatnot is just being dishonest. Wasting your time.
Or they might be an idiot, but either way.
A real level of idiocy required.
Yeah.
So the story of it in and of itself, I don't know which link we're on here, but the story is him saying, shortly before midnight, Antifa attacker John Hacker, who assaulted me in 2019, began asking me questions. So Andy went down as a journalist with mask and whatnot to spare his identity, just to get the details for his new journalistic endeavor.
Can we scroll down and see that guy's face, John?
Yeah, he's not winning the lottery of life.
Jesus Christ.
That chap. So this is the guy who assaulted Andy in 2019, and then was questioning him, as he says.
Okay.
So after he refused to answer the questions, he says, I didn't answer and attempted to walk away, but a group of masked people in black followed and surrounded me. As they interrogated me, one managed to pull off my mask and immediately yelled, that's Andy, get him, get him. As I sprinted through downtown Portland trying to flag down help, there was no visible police presence. At Southwest 4th Avenue and Southwest Morrison, one of the black-clad Antifa members tackled me to the ground in front of the Pioneer Place Mall, punching me in the face and repeatedly, whilst I pleaded with them not to kill me. All the time I could hear angry cries and footsteps of the mob approaching. In the chaos, I managed to seize a moment when my attackers were distracted and crawled away. As soon as I could get to my feet, I sprinted inside the only business I could see that was open, the Nines Hotel. And we have video evidence to back this up, and he's not just spinning lies as Antifa would have you tell, because we've got the video evidence from them. Antifa filmed themselves being awful. So
yeah, because they're proud of this.
Yeah, I mean, this is their glorious revolution. So we go to the first clip here. This should just be the hotel footage, so we can see all this.
No
You're
idea what's
infiltrator-ass
happening.
lying
Hey,
racist.
you need to get off my property right now.
Holocaust denying. I can't wait for you to come out, Andy. You thought the milkshakes were bad last time. We're gonna beat the out of you. Y'all, Andy knows here at the Nines Hotel.
Nazi scum! You see my face, Andy? Andy, you see my face? You see my face?
So terrorism by communist radicals who are doing it openly on the street because they know that there will be no consequences for them doing this. They even take their masks off. They see our faces. They are people who literally want to kill him because of his political beliefs. This is what Portland has allowed to become radicalized in their city.
I mean, even in this instance, it's not even his beliefs. Because, sorry, like I bring it up, but it's the important bit, which is in here he doesn't actually note his political beliefs. He essentially puts down this is what they've done and tries to detach himself as much as possible because he wants to be a piece of journalistic work. And these chaps here, I actually recognize a few of them from when he was launching his book. He went down to the local bookstore and made sure the bookstore closed. They terrorized them because they printed a book that they didn't like and then had it cancelled from that bookstore. Real communist terrorists. And the police seem to do their jobs in arresting them, but when they get to the police station, they get released with bail that's paid for by organizations like the one Kamala Harris retweeted, or the just let go because the people in charge of law and justice in Portland, I don't know, are smoking crack or smoking Democrat propaganda. Anyway, so Andy says, I begged the hotel staff to call 911, but they refused and ordered me to wear a mask and leave the property. God, you love COVID, don't you? I insisted, reminding them that there was a violent mob outside seeking to kill me. So you can see those clips where the security there had their phones out. Presumably they realized, there's a mob of terrorist communists outside.
Yeah.
And then did call the police. And then we can see the police turning up. So if we can get the next clip, it's just the police turning up and protecting Andy.
Stay back! Stay back! Stay back! Back up! Stay back! Come on, big boy, which one of you guys want to say, I'm here to protect Andy No? Say I'm here to protect Andy No. Say it!
You already hate the cops. This is not a secret. Like, cops turn up and Antifa are like, oh, thank goodness.
Yeah. One of the interesting things is he went on and on there. I've clipped it down because of the repetitiveness of him shouting, you want to protect Andy No. But one of the cops actually just starts laughing. Because it's just like, I'm so sick of you people. I mean, if you work in the Portland Police Department, oh, good God. I mean, you must have the patience of a saint to keep doing that job. I mean, after the last 2 years especially. I mean, the last 4, considering Portland, to be honest. So, the Portland police, the person who I don't know which tweet we're on, if we can go to the next one. You can see here this Al-Azhar Azhar account, Free Palestine, socialist account. You can see they're listing that footage there. Portland Police Bureau has a long history of protecting fascists and right-wing extremists and making up lies.
Yes. It's certainly not the fact that communists are just threatening everyone, and they're definitely telling the truth.
Like, you guys tackled Andy, beat him up, he managed to get away, gets into a hotel, you're banging on the window saying, we're gonna effing get you, we're gonna beat the S out of you, Andy No. And then the police turn up to stop you from engaging in murder, and you're like, yeah, you're the fascists, the police here. It's so comical. I know it's a bit repetitive with Portland, but...
this is just how bad it is, though. They're just on the streets.
This is where leftism leads you.
Literally saying that they're going to kill someone, and it's just not dealt with.
No. I mean, Andy has done nothing wrong. His crime is literally just documenting what Antifa believes. He has primary documents and says, here it is. This is their beliefs. This is what they hand out at the internal meetings. That's it. That's all he's done.
Yeah.
Shown them what they call themselves. Anyway, so if we go to the next link, should be Andy No saying he was treated in the ER for multiple injuries, as he had done previously. As you can see from the pictures there, again, not lying. I mean, Andy consistently truthful, Antifa consistently liars. You can see the blood from where he's been punched. You can see his eye there.
Yeah.
Blood in it. Bruises. Yeah, I mean, the story checks out. Surprise, surprise. Sorry.
He's only lucky it wasn't worse.
Yeah, so, Andy, if you're watching, this is horrible to see. I hope he's all right. I'm sure he's out of Portland now, but
yeah,
This is what happens if you're a journalist and you cover Antifa. They will come and attack you, but only for a certain kind of journalist.
Sure, but I think that Andy has pretty much got to admit now that he's too famous to be doing this. He's recognizable. They've recognized him. They keep mistaking other Korean men and East Asian men for him, and he's going to have to get agents to act on his behalf and go in there and record and document instead of him. He's too obvious a target for them now.
Yeah, I mean, he notes in here, I think during the same time period, some other Asian journalist was also assaulted for being Asian, and therefore, I don't know, was guilt by association to Andy.
Yes.
And
apparently that hadn't been the first time this had happened to him, poor guy.
No, although Andy's got a history of running towards the fire, so to speak. Like, he wants to find the truth. I mean, it's really admirable. Like, for example, one of the scenes in the book is, what is it, Chaz in Seattle? I think that might get the right one. Anyway, it's one of these autonomous zones, the big one, and he goes up and he masks up, makes sure he's all covered, and then spent time there filming after being told that by the police department, if you're in trouble there, we're not coming in. Like, you have to leave and then we'll assist you. But if you're dead...
I mean, it's very brave, but it's also a bit foolhardy at this point, I think. It's just too dangerous.
Well, they did find him. So he notes in here that he found one of the Antifa people there who had previously given him a death threat when he was covering Portland, and they were walking around with a rifle and a pistol, and he was like, right, okay, I'm kind of screwed. And then eventually at one scene, his mask gets torn off, and then they realise it's him, and he just sprints out of there. Because, I mean, you're a dead man if you don't.
Yeah. What are your options there?
Yeah. But as I mentioned, this only happens if you're a certain kind of journalist. A journalist, not a journo. Not these scumbags who just write articles attacking people every day for being politically incorrect against the left. So this is an example of this here. So if you can click on the first image here, this guy Arun Gupta is a perfect example of this. Portland's Andy No is the most dangerous grifter in America by Arun Gupta for Jacobin magazine, in which he just whines on and on about how anyone who says that communism's bad is far right. And if you go to the next link here, this is him talking about it. Andy No effed around and found out after him being beaten up in Portland. What a great guy. What a great guy. Let's go to the next one.
Definitely not the sort of people who are a threat to democracy.
Yeah. From an operational standpoint, how do you let Milkshake Andy escape after you've tackled him and have him to the ground? So he's disappointed that they weren't able to murder him. I mean, they only managed to beat him up. They only managed to, give him some bruises. Why not kill him?
And Amy's right. This is unconscionable. They're not messing around. They are literally dangerous communist revolutionaries who will kill their political opponents.
I mean, when they tell you, believe them.
Yeah.
It's not difficult. I mean, Andy notes as well on a different slide I didn't actually have up, but it's the thumbnail for this stream, in which people have written, murder Andy No, kill Andy No.
Oh, yeah.
There's graffiti all over the place because he's dead to point out what they are. So, as you can see here, beacon of weapon of mass destruction coming to the new press. Words, writes for Washington Post, Daily Beast, Guardian, Intercept, Roll Story, Yes, The Times, Progressive Jacobin.
Exactly the kind of places I'd expect him to write for, in fact.
Yeah, these disgusting communists. It's really evil. I mean, to watch someone be beaten in the streets. I mean, I was about to say your own kind as in a fellow journalist, but he's not, is he? This is a propagandist and he's a journalist.
Yeah, these are communist agitators. These are not... these are revolutionaries, and they know that they're revolutionaries, and that they're very proud, and they always say revolution is just the word they use the most. They hate liberal democracy, they hate anyone who doesn't agree with them, and if someone goes to the extent that Andy has of exposing what they are, then they'll pathologize them and treat them as if they deserve to be killed.
Yeah. I mean, some of the most pathetic things I've seen as counters to Andy. I mean, most of his Twitter account these days. I mean, this is probably his work that he's most proud of.
Yeah.
In black and white. But his Twitter account is a fantastic account, and his other social medias as well, in which he just documents like someone's taken some footage down in Portland.
Yeah.
And he just retweets it and says this happened, right?
Yeah. It's just a factual statement. All of his tweets.
Yeah.
And it's not like me. I editorialize all the time.
Yeah, leftist scum do this.
Exactly.
Not Antifa do this.
No, he doesn't do that.
And I've seen people in the comments, like leftists, saying, man, I wouldn't trust this propaganda footage from Andy No. And it's like, what do you mean?
You took it.
But it's like, it's video footage of man who's covered in communist symbols beating up man who is, not covered in any political symbols.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, that's propaganda footage.
Yes. This makes us look bad.
Yeah, this was staged. I don't know. They're all crisis actors. I mean, is that their opinion? But it's utterly pathetic. The people in Portland who have been able to get away with this for years now is unconscionable. And I really hope Andy's all right, because that's absolutely horrible.
And it's not like there haven't been other Antifa shootings and attempted murders.
Well, successful murders. In
Yeah,
Portland.
exactly. Actual murders and attempted murders.
The worst one being the Trump supporter. He was walking
Daniel
around with
Aronson.
Trump cap. Antifa guy came out with a gun, shot him, killed him. Then immediately after, Vice were like, "Ooh, would you like to do an interview?
Yeah.
Would you like to come tell your side of the story to the killer?"
Yeah.
And then he gives an
mad.
interview in which he's like, "Yeah, it's self-defense."
Yeah. If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 p.m. UK time on lotuseaters.com.